Cambodia is a must-do. The culture is amazing. People are so nice.
You can stay in a hotel for 15 to 25 bucks.
We did that 11 years ago.
Yeah. And actually the same hotel that we stayed at 11 years ago
still exists.
And is still about the same price.
$18
bucks a night.
This is an affordable place to visit, whether you're going here for luxury or just to experience the history and the culture. Today, we are sitting here at the beautiful Sora Sky Bar at the Rosewood in Phnom Penh.
We are 38 floors up above the city of Phnom Penh. And if you haven't checked out our review of the Rosewood, make sure to go check that out. We've linked it right here in the top right corner. But today, what we want to talk to you about is Cambodia. What to do, what to see, where to visit, how to plan your trip, some of the things we've seen, and our takeaways from coming here a decade earlier and coming back today.
So first things first, it's been 11 years. What's changed?
It honestly feels like so much has changed. I mean, we came here when we were just out of college, and it was one of our first trips together. We did Thailand and Cambodia combined, and we did it a little differently than we did this trip.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of an understatement. I think we had like the backpacker budget the first time, but it did feel like it was so small town feeling. And I do think, you know, if we talk about Siem Reap and stuff like that, I think a lot has changed in 10 years.
Of course, one of the main attractions to visit when you come to Cambodia is Angkor Wat. Angkor Wat is located in the city of Siem Reap, just outside of the city of Siem Reap. And the capital city is Phnom Penh, where we are today. Now, a lot of people from a tourist perspective, there's really only 3 zones that you visit in Cambodia. You visit Phnom Penh, Siem Reap, or the coastline. And that's actually something we haven't done yet, is visited the coastline. We've really only stuck to Siem Reap, which is where Angkor Wat is. That's the ancient history, this fusion of Hindu history of the Khmer Empire, and then how Buddhism kind of overtook, and there's this real fusion of Hinduism and Buddhism and how they kind of mesh together in that Khmer society. And then down here in Phnom Penh, it's a little bit more of historical city from the sense that it used to be considered the pearl of Asia in the 1960s, and then it really had a serious downfall, and it was quite unfortunate. There's a lot of history here around the communist takeover by Pol Pot and what's known as the Khmer Rouge, which gets studied in a lot of places around the world. In US history, it's not really talked about that much because it's kind of a blot on US diplomacy and US history, particularly post-Vietnam War, but it's one of the most fascinating things you can learn about here. It's also one of the most depressing.
Yeah, it was very depressing. And honestly, I think a lot of people either skip Phnom Penh or just do kind of a stopover. And I do think a lot of people do visit some of the areas like the Killing Fields and stuff like that, which is definitely worth seeing. Wouldn't do what we did last time, which was do it on the way to the airport. That was left us very sad going home. I mean, we were like crying in the tuk-tuk on the way to the airport, which is not great. But there is a lot to see here. So I do think it is a worthwhile stop. And typically the flights are a lot cheaper flying into Phnom Penh than they are going direct to Siem Reap. Although Siem Reap just built a brand new airport. That was one major change. That used to be 15 minutes from the town, but now it's an hour away, but is a much larger airport. So I have a feeling the flight prices will probably go down pretty significantly once some of the larger aircraft start flying in. It's both kind of great and bad, right? Because then people will end up skipping Phnom Penh altogether, which I don't think you should skip
Phnom Penh altogether, because I think there's not only a lot of cool things happening in this city. So 11 years ago, there weren't all the skyscrapers, there weren't all these massive buildings, there wasn't cocktail culture or culinary culture. A big reason why is because during the Khmer Rouge, a lot of the artists and the academics, people that specialized in something, anything, education, whatever it is, were all killed off. That was part of the genocide of the Khmer Rouge. And if you come here, you learn a lot about that. But that also had a major cultural impact on this area. But also, because of that, it's why you have such nice people here. You have such kind people. You have people that are excited to be alive, frankly, is kind of the somewhat sad way to put it. But that's really the reality of it, because it's not that long ago. I mean, we're talking about the 1970s. Honestly, that continued until like the late 90s. There's a lot of political and historical implications of that time. But I think it's important to come here and to learn that, because I think it gives you a better understanding of Cambodians culturally and just understanding both the greater Khmer Empire historically and then also the more recent history.
Yeah, 100%. And I think also just from like a, if you're looking to have some cool experiences in Southeast Asia and Cambodia, it's also just a great place for luxury hospitality too. The Rosewood, where we are today, is in an iconic building. It is so beautiful. It's very new, very modern. This was definitely not here 11 years ago, but it is an extremely good value too. So you get to have a really high-end experience. And a lot of the hotels are like that. Even the Raffles is coming in around like $400 or $500 a night, which is unheard of for a lot of places.
For that caliber of hotel, it's unheard of. And if you compare that to neighboring Vietnam, where I would say at the low end, you have very similar price things. I mean, it's incredibly inexpensive. 75-cent beer, 30-cent beer. You can go eat for less than $1. But at the high end, if you look at Vietnam, Vietnam's luxury experiences are priced the same as they're priced everywhere in the world.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, maybe a little bit discounted. Let's say 10 to 15, maybe 20% in certain instances. But if you're looking at a brand, like a known brand, you're basically paying what you're going to pay in Europe, in the US, all around the world. Here, you're still paying significantly more than the accommodations that are available or the dining that's available around, but seems more in line with, we're not charging US prices, right?
Yeah.
We're charging kind of like luxury prices for the area. And both here, a little bit more expensive in Siem Reap in general, because it's more touristy, but still a great value.
Yeah, it's definitely a great value. And I think there's kind of two hotels I would probably recommend in Phnom Penh, while we're talking about the city life. It's definitely Rosewood. If you're looking for, modern luxury accommodations, it is super central, awesome building. The Sky Bar is just amazing. And honestly, just amazing experience all around. I think Raffles is amazing for more of the history buffs. Hotel opened in 1929. It was, one of the first luxury hotels here. It was first hotels here, and it has so much history. So if you're kind of more into the history of things and like that classical style, it's literally like next door to here. So those are probably the two options I'd recommend for a luxury hotel in this area.
That being said, we also stayed one night at the Hyatt Regency, which on points, I wouldn't book it in cash.
No,
it's
a bad deal in cash.
It's not that expensive, but it's not as good of a deal on points. I mean,
it's $200, but the points were like 6,500 points per night for a standard room, or 10,500 for a Regency Club, which comes with alcohol and
if you don't know how much we love Hyatt, go check out other videos and things. Get a Hyatt credit card. It costs you $85 a year. The points are fantastic. They come with all kinds of benefits. It's definitely a really good way to travel, particularly if you're going to be traveling more often.
Yeah, it's true.
They're also building a Shangri-La.
Yeah, they are building a Shangri-La. It's a little bit out of the center. Apparently that's more, I think, a little bit more of like a business, financial focused area. So we'll see when it opens what kind of clientele they get, but I'd probably recommend staying in the central area, but I do love Shangri-La.
Okay, but we've probably droned on too much about Phnom Penh.
Let's talk about Siem Reap.
Because Siem Reap is probably why you're watching this video to begin with, so hopefully you stayed through the majority of this video to stick with that.
So let me ask you though. Okay, Siem Reap, talking about Siem Reap, because you're right. I mean, I just love hotels. I can talk about them all day. But how long do you think is the appropriate time? Do you think that 3 nights that we spent was enough? What do you think?
Okay, well, we're always really bad at saying how long you should spend in a place, because you can spend an infinite amount of time in a place. I honestly think you could spend a week up there just because there's Kulen Mountain, which we didn't go to. There's a lot of areas that you can visit in the greater area.
Yeah.
That being said, to see Angkor Wat, to see the temples, 1-2 nights, 3 if you're feeling ambitious and want to visit some of the stuff in the greater area. I personally think the city's pretty cool.
Yeah, what was your favorite part of Siem Reap? I mean, outside of obviously like Angkor Wat and the temples, but what was your favorite part about being up there?
I mean, the temples are incredible. The history is incredible. I just love that little downtown part of Siem Reap. It's cool. I mean, Pub Street, the markets, all the shopping, going in there, haggling, visiting little things around the city. And the food was really good too. There were a lot of really cute little cafes, good restaurants, relatively inexpensive.
Yeah.
Not crazy inexpensive, still pretty touristy, particularly for Cambodia. Pretty much everything is even for the cheap things that are like local street food and stuff, you're probably paying double what you would pay as a normal Cambodian. But we're still talking about, dollar draft beer and stuff like that.
Yeah, and we got kind of like scammed for $1.25 as tourists for the noodles, where our tour guide got to pay 75 cents, but that's like such small beans, but that's like kind of the extent of the messing with the tourists, I would say.
Yeah, no, the one thing to note about Siem Reap is it is a much smaller city, and unlike Phnom Penh where they're building all these skyscrapers, the government's outlawed that, so they can only build, nothing can be higher than Angkor Wat, and so that's actually pretty cool. It's kept it a little bit smaller. That being said, there are a number of pretty big brands and big hotels that are in the area now.
So we stayed at the Park Hyatt, but if you could choose a hotel to stay at, knowing what we know now, where would you stay?
And you'd probably still stay at the Park Hyatt.
Yeah.
But again, purely this is a points region, right? I mean, for the price of what other hotels are costing, getting that points deal is really good. However, there's also a lot of pretty cool boutique brands that were relatively inexpensive that had a lot of things the Park Hyatt didn't have, which was surprising.
Yeah, we stayed at the Park Hyatt, really central, beautiful location, right to probably 4 minutes walking to Pub Street. Great points redemption, amazing courtyard. Go check out that review, a full detailed breakdown there. But you're totally right, because there were a few things missing there that I felt like were so silly. like some of the cheap places that are nice 4-star hotels, they had tuk-tuks that take you around this teeny tiny town.
Yeah, and when you say cheap, we're not talking incredibly cheap. Because the thing is, like you can stay in a hotel for $15 to $25.
We did that 11 years ago.
Yeah. And actually, the same hotel that we stayed at 11 years ago
still exists
and is still about the same price. It was what, like $18 a night?
Yeah.
And I think at the time maybe it was like 16.
Yeah.
But when we're talking inexpensive, we mean more in the sense of like, okay, kind of that $80 to $120 a night range.
Yeah.
Inexpensive for luxury. There are some boutique hotels in there that they offer free little tuk-tuks that take you around town. They
and
have
honestly,
a lot
their
of branded
tours,
amenities.
Yeah, and if you're booking tours through them too, they end up being a lot cheaper than what, so Matt, if you watch some of our videos, I don't know, you might not know this about us, but we very rarely book a tour through a hotel because if you go on Viator, there's just like thousands of options typically, and you can read all the reviews. But this time we're like, okay, why is Park Hyatt charging double what you can get somewhere else? And we wanted to see if it was worth it. And
to be fair, it's double. So there is a caveat there, right?
Yeah.
Double the price of what we were able to negotiate once we got to Phnom Penh and we kind of talked to our taxi driver, talked to some tuk-tuks, met some guides, did that price, right? We kind of came in with, okay, we can do a day for about, with an air-conditioned car, for about $75, $80. If we had done that with a tuk-tuk, that would have taken it down to around, like, let's say $50, because the tuk-tuk will take you around for, $18 for the big tour.
But also those even included more temples than what we got to see.
We got the short end of the stick. But we wanted to do it because we wanted to see, like, okay,
can we recommend it?
Yeah, and in a hotel that's so centrally located, with that being really the reason people, I mean, you're not going to Siem Reap as a resort destination. You're going there because you want to go see Angkor Wat. And that was the one piece that was a little surprising. What I will say is, if you're looking at tours, a lot of people do book directly through the hotel because it's easy. But a good thing to keep in mind is when you do book directly through a hotel, any hotel, if you go to their TripAdvisor and you read the reviews, you're reading reviews about the hotel. There's some exception to this if they have a tour operator that's operating their tours for them. But the actual tours themselves are rarely reviewed. And I think that's an important thing, because you can't go see, oh, this tour got 500 5-star reviews.
That's so true.
You're looking at the hotel and you're saying, oh, everybody's really happy with the hotel. And there's 3 mentions of the tour.
Oh, for sure. But also the other thing is, like, a lot of these hotels are just booking the tours through the operator that you would be booking through Viator anyway.
And then upcharging you for it.
Yeah, so that was a little bit silly. So I would probably just say, look at Viator.
The Viator difference, what I was going to say though, the Viator difference was only like 20%. It wasn't half.
Yeah, that's
half was like the negotiated price in the street. 20% was kind of the margin with like
Viator. But we could have guaranteed a better tour experience, I think, if we had done a Viator tour potentially, or just the negotiated tour where we knew what we were getting, for the money.
There's more likelihood from the amount of reviews that you could read about it.
Expectations would be set correctly, I think. But also, we do have a great tour guide. So if you are going to Siem Reap, DM us on Instagram or email us or make a comment, and we'll share her information.
We have a driver and
we have both. We have everything you need. But seriously, message us, because she was fabulous, spoke amazing English, and is a total art history nerd. And it was just a really amazing experience. Like, Siem Reap is so worth going to, I think, and Angkor Wat. And what going back to what's changed, I have to call out, there's pros and cons to development, you know what I mean? 11 years ago, you could kind of go into the temples more, you could kind of poke around, but there was a lot more kind of decrepit buildings. There were a lot of collapsed buildings.
Decrepit's maybe the wrong word.
Decrepit's the wrong word, isn't it?
Yeah.
English is my second language.
English is...
a lot of fallen apart. Over time, the temples.
Those are called ruins.
Ruins.
Yes,
that's
ruins.
the word.
There are a lot of ruins.
There are a lot of ruins.
For better or for worse, they have reconstructed some of those.
Yeah, which is amazing. But they've also added a lot of ropes and pathways that just take you kind of into more of a museum vibe than...
But it has to be a controlled environment now.
100%.
I mean, that's the realism of it, is that at the end of the day, this is a really, Angkor Wat's an extremely sacred place for both first Hinduism, but then later, as time went on, Buddhism. Yeah. It's still predominantly a real center point for Hinduism because of tourism and all that, and Instagram photos, and hey, look at me and my strappy dress and all that. There's a lot of things that they're trying to kind of roll back in terms of the image and make it more, again, like a historical site, but also maintain the fact that it is still a religious site. Yeah, that's true. So quickly, let's touch on, for some pro tips that are good to know going in that you maybe or maybe don't know. I would say kind of the top 3 for me are what to wear on the tour. I would say, long pants for men. You have to wear,
like joggers or whatever is fine, trousers. I would wear sneakers or comfortable shoes because you actually end up walking like many kilometers between all the temples because you do take a ride. You know, I'd recommend the air-conditioned ride personally because it gets so hot.
I'd recommend the tuk-tuk. Do it the authentic way. If you haven't done it,
if you haven't done it
the authentic way. We did it in the tuk-tuk the first time. We did it in air conditioning.
And honestly, the air conditioning was really nice because even now I'm like sweating. It's really hot here. But so if you're very sensitive to heat, go air conditioned. If you don't, go the tuk-tuk. Do the sunrise tour. It's amazing. There are less people, supposedly. I don't know.
I do think that's true. I think you get started. Everybody knows that you should be there at sunrise.
Yeah.
And yet everybody has a reason for why you should be there at sunrise. And I do think actually some of the guides that we talked to and just people in general tried to convince us to not do it at sunrise. I think because they just didn't want to get up.
It's true. That's true. They're like, oh, it's not that great.
Yeah, they're like, like people will come later. It's like, it's just like anything else, right? Like everybody can talk about the fact that they get up at 4 a.m., but not everyone does. So you still do minimize the crowds, and then you get to places before the rest of it happens. The bigger issue than people hiring private tours in terms of crowds is not the private individual tours that get up for sunrise or go here or go there. It's the group tours.
Yeah, group tours.
And those are the ones that do come slightly later in the day. They're on a delayed schedule because they have to coordinate everybody. Yeah. And man, when you see those coming, it's
wild.
You know, in the cartoon movies where like the dust clouds come in and you see all the herd stampeding towards you, like that's kind of
it's absolutely what that was like. So yeah, I would say like, you know, even if they're like, oh, start at 4:30, like get ready, be there at 4:30. That's it, you know. Pretty much every private tour stops for lunch. Like some of the high end, like Hyatt basically tried to say, oh, you're gonna go back to the Hyatt, have breakfast and go back out. And we're like,
yeah, what a waste of time.
Like, what a waste of time. No way. Just take me to a local little, you know, stop and let's grab some coffee and go.
I expected that they would have had like coffee or like 100%. Snacks or something included on that tour just in the beginning as like a morning thing, because that would just kick you off, right?
On like the right foot.
You can get like a breakfast box and stuff, and maybe that is the thing to recommend. Like if you do need some food in the morning, get that. That way you can go and you can kind of do your thing.
Oh, and but speaking of pants and stuff like that,
we didn't fully cover what you're supposed to wear. Okay, real quick, run the list.
100%. Okay, so this is your like packing list, okay? Trousers for men, leggings or pants for women. Definitely a scarf on your shoulders if you have a tank top. You can also just wear a t-shirt. That's totally fine. If you wear a skirt.
Wear a hat.
Oh my God,
so important. Not a lot of coverage.
Yeah, there's like no trees anywhere. So definitely sunscreen, mosquito repellent, must do all year.
Yes, one of the coolest things about that area is that because they built these giant moats around everything, it was actually for water collection. So they collected all this water. It was their form of reservoirs. Cambodia, interestingly enough, gets 6 months of dry, 6 months of wet. So you get a bunch of rain, but then you get a bunch of stagnant water, and that stagnant water brings mosquitoes.
Oh yeah, literally all year too. But overall, Cambodia is a must-do. People are so nice. The culture is amazing. It literally doesn't matter what your budget is. This is an affordable place to visit, whether you're going here for luxury or just to experience the history and the culture. So
there's some great hotels in Siem Reap as well.
Amazing hotels. I'd say Park Hyatt, Raffles, Amansara if you're going like real big. You know, there's some 4-star options like Avani's, FCC's there. That's a good location. If you are a Marriott person, there is a Courtyard Marriott. They say it's kind of city center, but it's not. It's pretty far out, so I would kind of avoid that one.
I wouldn't do that. It's worth just being able to be in that walk. Because one of the things is the tuk-tuks are so inexpensive.
Yeah.
You can get a tuk-tuk for around $5 for 2 hours, and he'll wait around for you.
Yeah.
The problem with that is if you want to take like a short tuk-tuk ride,
it's still going to cost you a couple bucks.
Yeah, it's still going to cost you a couple dollars. Okay, final piece of this is the thing that changed from 11 years ago to today that I was kind of most shocked by was the lack of monks. People say it's because there's less people studying, but it could have been, I don't know, maybe it was just timing that we didn't happen to see as many, but I cherish the photos that we had that first time around, the contrast of the robes and these monks.
Amazing gray tones. Yeah, if you know what happened, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, you know, the age of progress and people changing interest, and it's just maybe too strict. But hopefully that isn't the case, and hopefully there's just some big Buddhist holiday that we were unaware of, and that's why there were absolutely zero monks in the entirety of Angkor Wat and Angkor Thom and in the entire general area. I hope that that's not the case. But anyway, if you found this video useful, be sure to give us a thumbs up. And of course, if you don't already, hit subscribe. We have to go catch a flight, so we're in a little bit of a rush.
And if you follow us on Instagram, you'll have already seen this entire experience play out on our feed and our stories. So if you don't already, be sure to follow us at Voyager Grow.
And of course, there's also our website at voyagergrew.com where we have full destination guides to every destination we visit, as well as written reviews of all of our hotels and much more content.
And as always, I'm Maren.
And I'm Max.
And we're Voyager Grow. See you out there.